Alright, so this tutorial is for this corner shelf that, it's a nice little shelf. As I have it currently designed, it is about 8 inches by 8 inches coming out of a corner and is about 27 inches tall. What is a little different about this shelf is you can see we're going to use something called box or finger joints. That's these interlocking little squares, rectangles, fingers, whatever you want to describe them as. But their technical term is a box joint. You can see that's how all these pieces are going to fit together. They provide a whole lot of extra stability for alignment to make sure that when you're assembling, your pieces are going to go together nice, straight, and square. And it's also a whole lot more surface area that you can use to apply glue so that we can put this together and it will look really good when you're finished. So to get started, I'm going to go and create a new document. And like any other document, we're going to always start with a sketch. I'm going to start on the top plane right here and look straight at it. And I'm going to start by drawing a 8 by 8 square. Okay, and as I have this oriented right now, I'm going to make these two sides right here, the left and the top side, as the back sides where I'm not going to have a radius showing. So what I like to do now is I'll take the square tool again, or rectangle tool again, and I'll go to the opposite corner of where the corner of the wall is going to be, and I'm going to now draw a 7 by 7 square. What that does is it gives me a center point for my radius. So I'm going to draw a circle, and I'm going to start the center point from this corner right here. I'm going to draw this arc out and just bring it down till connects to that point. Then I'm going to trim off all this excess. That's all I need for this first sketch. So then I can come up here to extrude, and I need to select 4 profiles in this case. I got to make sure I get these little corners out here at the end that I didn't trim off. And then we need to select what thickness. And the thickness is really going to matter with this project, because the thickness that you choose here, the thickness that you actually create when you build these pieces, is going to dictate one of the 2 dimensions for your box joint. So I'm going to go with 3/4 of an inch right here, but it would not be unreasonable to choose a 1/2 inch as well. So that is it for my first extrusion. Now that I have a 3D object on screen, I'm going to go ahead and hide all these planes so that they're not in my way. And now I'm going to start drawing the box joints. So to do that, I'm going to place a sketch on that flat face. I'm going to use my rectangle tool, but before I do that, I'm going to click on the use or project button right here, and I want to click on this face, and you can see that just gives me a nice dark outline where it puts the outline of that object on my sketch plane. Now I can use the rectangle tool, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to start drawing a rectangle. I want it to be a 1/2 inch by the thickness of my pieces, which in this case is 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to then dimension from this first point of my rectangle to the edge of my board. And I do actually want this to be 0.5, which that happened to be. That was just a lucky guess though. And that's it for my sketch. So I'm going to click the green check mark, come over to extrude, select my new profile, and I want to remove this. I'm just going to choose through all. Alright, and that's our second extrusion. Once we have that extrusion done, we can come over here to linear pattern, and I want to choose that extrusion that I just made. But before I do that, I got to change it to feature pattern instead of part. So I'm going to choose extrude to, and then the direction is going to be some line in this direction. You can see by default it goes from left to right. I want to flip that, so I'll hit this arrow right here. And then the distance is actually correct by default. With a 1/2 inch box joint, I'm going to have 1 inch of spacing. And then how many of them? Looks like 7 is going to work. 8 would actually get me right where I want to be, but you can see that last one kind of gives me an error state. So I'm going to stick with 7. And then I'm going to place one more sketch on here. I'm going to use this use and project button again, and I'm going to draw another rectangle here and make it the same dimensions as before. It's already locked into the correct location because I started in that corner. So now I can extrude cut or extrude remove through all and hit the green check mark. So now my first piece is complete. And I can come down here and name this. And I'm going to name this, let's see here, radius shelf 1 box. So that's just saying that it is a radius shelf, obviously, as a curve, and it's a shelf. And the 1 box means that there's a box joint on one edge. So now I'm going to place another sketch, and I'm going to do that right on this same top surface that I placed the other ones. I'm going to again use the use button. I'm going to look at it from this angle. Now I'm going to use my rectangle tool. I'm going to start with this top corner. I'm going to drag it down to this corner. And that's my whole sketch for this one. Now I'm going to extrude, and I'm going to select every one of these rectangles. And you can see I'm getting an error here. The reason I'm getting an error is because it thinks I'm trying to join onto this, but I'm making all these little pieces here, and they're all going to be kind of maybe separate parts depending on how I select it. So I'm going to come over here and choose new, because this is a new part, and then that error state goes away. And the distance between my shelves, you know, from my bottom shelf to my next shelf up, I want to have about 8 inches. Whatever that distance is, I'm going to choose half of that for this extrusion. So I'm going to choose 4 inches here. And it'll make sense why I did that in just a minute. So that's that extrusion. Now before I go any further, I want to finish these box joints, or these fingers right here. So I'm going to place another sketch. And I could place it here or here, make it work either way. I'm going to place this one on this surface, the end of that board right there. And I'm going to use the use or project button again. And I'm going to do the same thing with this surface right here. If I project both of those profiles onto this sketch, I don't actually have to draw anything else. I can hit the green check mark. And now I'm going to extrude, and I'm going to select all of the openings right here. You can see they're all turning different colors. It's going to act like they're all going to be different parts, but I'm going to choose add, and then it's going to give me an error, and it wants me to tell it what I want those pieces to merge to. So I'm going to choose this object up here. You can see the error state went away. They all are the same color now. Now they're all extruding farther than I need. I want them to be flush, so I could type in the distance right here. I can also choose up to face, and then select that I want it to go to this face, and you can see they'll all go perfectly flush with that face. Alright, so now I have this piece halfway done. Now, like I said, I came up halfway, so now I'm going to choose mirror, and I'm going to make this a part mirror, and the part that I'm going to choose is part 2. And the mirror plane that I'm going to use is actually this surface right here. And I do want it to be an add to part 2. So now I have that piece completed. Alright. So now I'm going to mirror this piece. In order to do that, I'm going to make a plane. This plane is going to be a mid plane. And I'm going to click on this bottom surface and the top surface of one of these box joints. You can see that should place a plane right dead center in that piece. Now I'm going to do another mirror. This is going to be a part mirror again, and this is going to be a new piece. So I'm going to be mirroring this first piece that I made, this shelf, and the mirror plane is going to be that new plane that I just made. I want to make sure that I'm on new. I should have 3 parts down here right now, not 1. and I can hit the green check mark. So now I'm going to place another sketch up here on this surface. I'm going to use the Use and Project button. I'm going to click on this surface here, and now I'm going to zoom in a little bit and draw a rectangle right here, and I want this dimension to be 0.75 and this one to be 0.5. I want to space that from the end of that shelf by 0.5 inches. And I'm going to extrude, remove that new profile. I want it to be through all. And then I'm going to do a linear pattern of that extrusion. It's going to be a feature pattern. I'm going to choose my direction as that right there. You can see it's going the wrong way, so I'm going to flip it. And then I'm going to see how many instances make sense. Looks like we can get 7 in there. Alright, so now we have our second piece here. We can do the exact same thing. The way that we drew this vertical support piece, we're going to draw another one right here. The way we just mirrored this piece from this one, we can do the same thing again. Okay, and we can go all the way up until we have the entire shelf built. When you're all finished, there should be 4 shelves or 4 radius rounded shelves. But the pieces that are not in this video, you're going to do exactly the same way as you did these.